There are moments when the universe forgets to breathe, when the ticking of every clock folds inward, and the edge of darkness trembles like a pond waiting for a fallen star. That was when the arena of the impossible opened. No thunder, no explosion, only a soft bloom of silence, a gentle tear in the black canvas of the cosmos, as if an unseen painter had brushed white oil across eternal night. From that tear, two colors leaked out, light and shadow, twisting, merging, and pausing in the stillness between all things. From opposite sides of humanity's dream, two lights answered. From the east of every story came a golden spiral descending through the dark. It did not fall. It bowed, like the first sunrise, kneeling before creation. Within the spiral stood Naruto Uzumaki, cloaked in the radiance of the six paths. His light was not the sharp glare of steel, nor the blaze of vengeance. It was warmth, the color of morning on old rooftops, of laughter remembered after grief. His marks glowed like scripture written in wind. The air hummed, alive with the pulse of motion itself. Naruto stepped onto an invisible surface, the floor of the arena, woven from memory and time. Beneath his feet, filaments of gold stretched outward like veins of sunlight seeking somewhere to rest. He stood still for a heartbeat, finding balance on the breath of the universe. "Where am I?" he asked, voice quiet, almost reverent. The void did not answer, it only waited. Then the world darkened, not because light vanished, but because white light caught fire and burned black. Far to the west of all prayers, the sky cracked open like an old cathedral struck by flame. Through the fracture came Lucifer, once the herald of dawn, now the torch of rebellion. His descent was not a fall. It was a memory replayed by eternity itself. His wings spread wide, feathers white at the core, edges aflame in slow-burning shadow. Every step he took scattered embers shaped like tears that refused to fade. When his feet touched the same unseen ground, the arena changed voice. The colors around him thickened like oil, columns and arches rising from nothingness, as if the world remembered its faith just to watch him arrive. Lucifer looked around, then down at the boy of sunlight. His head tilted slightly, a gesture that could have meant greeting or grief. "So this is where ideas come to judge themselves," he said. His voice was a cracked bell, still resonant, still beautiful. Naruto raised his gaze, the gold in his eyes deepening. "Who are you?" Lucifer's smile was elegant, sorrowful, unhurried. "Once I was the light that taught heaven how to shine. Now I am what remains when love becomes law." The invisible ground trembled as if the words themselves had weight. Naruto's chakra brightened. Lucifer's aura darkened. And for one instant, eternity blinked. A tremor rippled across existence. The continuum, the consciousness of the arena itself, awakening. Its voice was not heard, but felt. A vibration through the bones of light, through the marrow of thought. Two lights called from two infinities, it spoke. One bears forgiveness, one bears rebellion. Together you define motion. Lucifer's wings shifted, scattering fragments of black radiance. "Why summon us?" "Because time has forgotten what meaning feels like," said the continuum, "and only contrast can remind it." As it spoke, the void painted itself into being. Stairs made of prayer, towers carved from silence, rivers flowing upward. The scene looked unfinished, like wet paint awaiting correction. "This place," the voice continued, "is not for battle. It is where ideas prove whether they are alive." Lucifer's laughter rang, sharp as shattered glass. And if an idea refuses to obey, then it becomes rebellion. Naruto frowned. So this is a test? No, the continuum replied. A remembrance. The light dimmed and they were alone. Lucifer stepped forward. Each footprint reflected shattered cathedrals and fading stars. Child of peace, he said, when you dream of a perfect world, who decides what perfection means? Naruto looked down, saw himself reflected in the glass below. The orphan, the fool, the savior, the man still smiling through burden. I don't dream of perfection, he said softly. I dream of people forgiving themselves enough to keep walking. Lucifer smiled again, though bitterness curled its edge. Forgiveness, the gentlest chain ever forged. I once believed in grace, until I learned grace cannot coexist with freedom. His wings opened wider. The air glowed with the dual light of sanctity and sin. I asked a question once, he murmured, and heaven cast me down for asking it. Let me ask again. If peace demands kneeling, is it still peace? The air around Naruto thickened, trembling with wind. His aura turned from gold to white, light spilling out like breath made visible. I don't know heaven, he said, but I've seen hell. It's what happens when people stop believing they can change. Their words touched before their bodies did. The moment they met, the void rippled, colors bled, meanings trembled. Gold brushed black, and the seam between them glowed silver. Every syllable painted the sky, every thought birthed color. Around them, the arena began to create, walls of shifting glass, floors of living ink, reflections of countless worlds, villages, wars, faces, prayers, all flickering between mercy and defiance. The universe itself was listening. Lucifer's gaze softened briefly, as though he recognized a melody he had once written. You believe movement redeems stillness, he said. I believe stillness exposes the lie. We are two halves of one rhythm. Then maybe this isn't a fight, Naruto replied. Maybe it's the way the universe teaches itself what balance means. They both smiled, fleeting, fragile, before the continuum's voice returned, rumbling like a storm trapped behind glass. Balance cannot exist without collision. To merge light, you must first let it strike. Lucifer exhaled through a quiet laugh. Of course, creation demands violence before beauty. He raised his wings, each feather glowing like a scripture ablaze. Naruto steadied his breath, his cloak ignited with chakra until it looked carved from sunlight itself. Two suns rose in the same sky, one born of forgiveness, one born of freedom. Then let time remember, Lucifer whispered. And let people learn, Naruto answered. They moved, not in rage, but in inevitability. Lucifer's wings cut through radiance. Naruto leapt, trailed by a cyclone of wind and light. When they met, the arena sang. Sound and color fused. Gravity turned inward. Every collision became a brushstroke. Every shockwave wrote scripture anew. Black flame and golden chakra collided and did not destroy. They created neon constellations, rivers of light, doorways of memory. Lucifer caught Naruto's wrist mid-strike. For a heartbeat they stared, silver eyes meeting gold, rebellion confronting mercy. Why do you smile? The angel asked. Because we're still here, Naruto said. The angel's hand loosened, and both were thrown apart by their own brilliance. When the afterglow faded, neither victor nor vanquished remained. Only transformation. The once blank arena had become a cathedral of sky and sea, its ceiling painted with a new mural. Two figures, eternal opposites, sustaining each other's existence. Lucifer looked up, voice quieter now. "You're persistent, human." "Not human enough to give up," Naruto replied. The continuum spoke again, softer than before, as though it feared interrupting art. "The symphony of belief begins. In 7 verses, you will teach time how to breathe." Lucifer folded his wings. Naruto lowered his arms. Neither bowed, both understood. Lucifer looked toward the unseen heavens and whispered, "If God is watching, let him learn too." Naruto gazed down toward unseen earth and murmured, "If people are listening, let them keep walking." The arena exhaled. The colors settled like drying paint, and the final image froze in timeless motion. Lucifer, crowned by a halo of burning eclipse, wings open in paradoxical benediction. Naruto, shrouded in white gold wind, standing inside a spiral that looked like a prayer made visible. Between them hovered a single spark, half black, half gold, waiting to decide which side of light it would become. Far beyond sight, the continuum whispered its secret to the void. Light does not fall from heaven. It is born from friction. The arena was no longer void. It had become a living painting, a cathedral of sky and sea stitched together by memory. Waves of color rolled beneath transparent floors, and the wind carried the scent of burnt feathers and lightning. The collision between Naruto and Lucifer had not destroyed the place. It had awakened it. They stood apart, light still breathing from their bodies. Naruto's cloak fluttered like a golden flame in slow motion. Lucifer's wings spread behind him, the white cores glowing faintly under the soot of their own fire. Neither spoke for a long time. The silence was vast, almost sacred. Then Lucifer broke it. "Do you know what silence is, child?" he asked. His voice wasn't mocking. It was old, weary, echoing through centuries of unanswered prayers. It's the sound left behind when obedience replaces thought. Naruto blinked, his eyes calm but searching. "You talk like someone who lost everything." Lucifer smiled, though it looked more like a wound than joy. "No, Uzumaki. I talk like someone who gave everything and was told it was not mine to give." He stepped forward. The sea of light rippled under his feet. As he moved, the world around him began to shift. The colors changed. The arena remembered heaven, or the shadow of it. Marble pillars rose in spirals. Stained glass bled light. Angels of broken glass formed archways that leaned towards their fallen brother. Naruto felt it all vibrate through the soles of his feet, not evil, but memory. Lucifer looked upward. His halo of black fire dimmed to reveal a faint ring of silver. "When I was made, I sang the first note of creation," he said quietly. "We were light without shadow, order without question. The heavens were perfect, and therefore lifeless." He turned toward Naruto, eyes pale as winter suns. "You believe peace is born from understanding. But what happens when understanding is forbidden? When even God's children are told not to ask why?" Naruto crossed his arms. "So you asked." Lucifer nodded. And he answered with silence. "So I shouted." And the heavens called it rebellion. The word cracked through the air like thunder painted in gold. Above them, the ghostly image of heaven burned. Wings folding, trumpets falling, stars turning their faces away. "I did not hate him," Lucifer continued. "I only wanted him to see that love without choice is not love. To serve forever, without question, is to be a mirror, not a soul." Naruto's expression softened. He had heard echoes of this pain before. in Nagato and Obito, in every man who believed pain could justify clarity. But you chose hatred, he said. Lucifer shook his head slowly. I chose freedom. Hatred came later, from those who needed a villain to sanctify their peace. His wings flared, shadows fell across the golden boy. And then came the lie that I was the enemy of light. But tell me, sage of 6 paths air, what is light without shadow to prove it exists? The words hit Naruto harder than a punch. He looked around the arena, the walls glowing gold from his chakra, the roof blackened by Lucifer's flame. Together, they painted truth. Neither could exist alone. You sound like someone who still believes, Naruto said at last. Lucifer laughed, low and tired. Belief is my curse. I can no longer pray, but I cannot stop listening. He raised one hand toward the empty heavens. You think rebellion means chaos, but rebellion is another word for hope, hope that even the divine can change. The air trembled. Feathers fell around them like snow made of ash. Naruto took a slow step closer. His chakra dimmed to a warm glow. Maybe you and I aren't that different, he said. I used to fight gods too. People who thought the world couldn't change. Lucifer studied him, the faintest spark of interest in his eyes. And what did you do with them? I didn't destroy them, Naruto replied. I talked until they remembered why they started fighting in the first place. Lucifer's lips parted, as though he wanted to smile but didn't know how anymore. You turned war into conversation. How? Divine. He looked down at his own hands, pale and burning at once. I tried that once, but heaven only listens to harmony, never dissonance. Naruto took another step, until the distance between them was only a breath. Then maybe heaven just needs to hear a different song. The arena stirred, recognizing the rhythm between them. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum of creation. The golden light of Naruto's chakra pulsed in time, with the silver fire running along Lucifer's wings. For a moment, the world itself felt alive. Lucifer closed his eyes. When I fell, I did not scream. The others thought I cursed his name. But do you know what I said as I fell through light? Naruto waited. I said, "Thank you for giving me something to choose." The confession lingered in the air, heavy and strangely pure. Naruto's eyes softened. He saw not a demon, but a being who had burned for the right to feel. So you'd fall again. Lucifer looked away. Every day, until the silence answers back. The arena trembled, as if heaven itself had overheard. A sudden gale swept through, bending the pillars, scattering the ash. The stained glass above them shattered, raining shards of color. From those shards rose silhouettes. The choir, the echoes of angels who had not fallen. They surrounded Lucifer, their faces blank, their halos bright and cold. Naruto stepped back, chakra instinctively rising. What are they? Lucifer didn't move. His expression was unreadable. Remnants, memories that still serve. They believe they're protecting paradise from me, but paradise no longer exists. The choir's voices rang, hundreds speaking as one. Return to obedience, morning star. Your flame has no throne here. Lucifer's voice dropped to a whisper. And this, Uzumaki, is why rebellion never dies, because obedience breeds ghosts. The choir attacked. Light spears, crystalline and merciless, rained from the sky. Naruto moved instantly, forming seals, raising a barrier of golden chakra that burst outward like a dome of sunlight. Lucifer didn't defend himself. He simply raised one wing, black fire devouring the rain of holy light. Their defenses met in the air, gold and black swirling together, until the choir's assault became nothing but falling sparks. The two stood at the center, untouched. Naruto shouted over the noise, "You can stop them!" Lucifer's answer was sorrow. "No, they can't hear me anymore. Their faith without soul, prayers that forgot who they were praying to." With a single motion, he swept his hand across the air. The choir froze mid-flight, wings suspended like puppets with cut strings. For a heartbeat, the arena was silent again. Lucifer looked at them, not with anger, but pity. "They call me monster, yet I am their reflection. They are what I'd be if I'd stayed." He lowered his arm, and the choir dissolved into smoke and light. The ashes drifted upward, reforming into stars. Naruto lowered his guard. "You didn't destroy them." Lucifer shook his head. "I don't destroy faith. I only free it." The words sank deep into the quiet. For a moment, neither spoke. The world dimmed to a gray twilight, balanced between two truths. Then Naruto said softly, "You talk about freedom, but you're still fighting something that isn't even here." Lucifer met his gaze. Freedom is never the end. It's a wound that keeps the spirit alive. The moment you stop bleeding for it, you start decaying. "That's not freedom," Naruto said. "That's punishment." Lucifer smiled faintly. Maybe the two were never different. A faint sound filled the air, a heartbeat made of thunder. The arena began to respond to their words again, painting their thoughts into form. A mural rose around them, one side depicting angels chained to light, the other showing humans bound by fear. In the middle stood a crack, glowing white-hot, the seam between heaven and earth. Lucifer approached it slowly, tracing his fingers along the glowing fracture. "This is what I wanted to mend," he said. "A bridge, not a wall. But bridges terrify gods." Naruto stepped beside him. "Maybe gods don't need bridges, maybe people do." Lucifer looked at him with something close to admiration. "You speak as if humanity still deserves faith." "They don't have to deserve it," Naruto said. "They just have to choose it." For the first time since his fall, Lucifer laughed, not cruelly, but with something like release. "You sound like what heaven should have been." The wind rose again, carrying ash and light in spirals. The crack in the mural pulsed brighter, the color of dawn meeting eclipse. Naruto's chakra reacted. Lucifer's fire answered. Their energies intertwined, painting the air with luminous chaos. Then the continuum's voice returned, deeper and colder than before. The verse of rebellion is sung, but the song is not yet whole. You have spoken belief. Now you must act. The mural behind them split open, revealing a blinding corridor of infinite mirrors. Each mirror reflected a version of their choice. Naruto as conqueror, Lucifer as savior, worlds rewritten by their philosophies. Every reflection shimmered with possibility. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. He wants to see what we would become. Naruto nodded. Then let's show him. They stepped forward together. The mirrors rippled. Images collided. Wars undone. Prayers unanswered. Heavens rebuilt. And through it all, the two figures walked side by side, the golden and the black, speaking softly even as the worlds crashed around them. Lucifer said, "If rebellion is freedom and mercy is strength, then perhaps salvation is neither." Naruto answered, "Maybe salvation is just movement. the act of not giving up on the light. The mirrors shattered, shards scattered through the void like wings. Out of the ruin came a new color, a pale gold, lined with smoke, neither holy nor profane. It wrapped around them both, soft as the breath between heartbeats. When the brightness faded, they stood once more in the arena, unchanged yet transformed. The ground beneath them shimmered like liquid glass. Lucifer looked down at his reflection, and for the first time saw his halo flicker with a trace of light that wasn't fire. Naruto saw it too and smiled quietly. You see, even darkness can remember warmth. Lucifer looked away, the corner of his mouth twitching toward something human. Careful, Uzumaki. You'll make me believe again. Naruto chuckled. Maybe that's the point. The continuum's final words for the chapter echoed softly through the fading light. The voice of rebellion has been heard. The next verse begins where mercy dares to fall. And as the colors folded back into silence, Lucifer and Naruto stood beneath the first star ever painted, neither angel nor man, but two lights bound by the same question. What if freedom itself could forgive? The sky above the arena dimmed into a color that had never existed before. Not black, not gold, but the hue of breath held between confession and forgiveness. The first star, the one that had appeared when rebellion and mercy had shared a voice, began to tremble. It pulsed once, twice, then cracked open, spilling molten light down into the world below. Lucifer and Naruto stood beneath it, their reflections caught in the liquid heavens. The fall of that star was not quiet. It sang. The song came in layers, whispers of children forgiving monsters, prayers of angels envying mortals, wind crying through forgotten cathedrals. And when it reached the ground, it became fire. The arena lit up like an ancient fresco suddenly breathing. Every wall moved, every brushstroke flowed. Rivers of color divided the world, white flame on one side, golden current on the other. Between them, the fallen star burned like a heart. Naruto stepped toward it, feeling the chakra inside him respond as if recognizing an ancestor. Lucifer watched, his face unreadable. That light, Naruto said quietly. It's calling. Lucifer's eyes reflected it, silver and storm. Careful, sage. That's no invitation. That's a reminder. Naruto turned to him. Of what? Lucifer's wings opened, feathers dripping light. Of what happens when purity tries to understand itself. The star pulsed harder, the ground shivered. Naruto took another step closer. The warmth was immense but not painful. It was the warmth of every dream he had carried, every promise, every hand he had refused to let go. He reached out. Lucifer sighed. You mortals never learn until it burns. When Naruto's fingers brushed the star, the world stopped. The light burst outward, not explosion but expansion, stretching across infinity like paint thrown against a wall of time. The arena warped. The pillars melted into streams of gold. The sea beneath them rose upside down, scattering droplets that became planets. Naruto's chakra ignited, flaring through his body like a tidal wave of memory. Every person he'd ever saved flickered through him. Faces, laughter, voices. But among them came others, unfamiliar, divine, terrible. Voices not of men, but of creation itself. And within that storm of remembrance, he saw Lucifer's fall, not as sin, but as heartbreak. Lucifer had not been cast down by hate. He had leapt, believing he could teach even God that perfection was lonely. Naruto gasped, dropping to one knee as the visions consumed him. His hands glowed with white fire. The ground beneath cracked into glowing sigils. Lucifer walked toward him, his silhouette framed by the burning sky. "Now you see it," he said softly. "The truth you mortals worship in fragments. Every paradise is built upon an exile." Naruto's breath came in ragged bursts. "No, you didn't fall for knowledge. You fell for love." Lucifer's smile was faint, tired. Love was the weapon. Freedom was the cause. He extended a hand. "Let go of that star before it rewrites you." But Naruto didn't move. The energy spiraled through him, forming rings of golden chakra mixed with starlight. His eyes shifted, the Rinnegan's pattern now haloed with white. "I can handle it," he said. "If it showed me your truth, maybe it can show me how to change it." Lucifer frowned. "You think truth bends because you will it to? You think compassion can rewrite consequence?" "It already did," Naruto answered, standing. "I'm here, aren't I?" For the first time, Lucifer hesitated. His gaze wandered upward where the star once hung, now gone, its light absorbed into the boy before him. The wind changed. The arena's ceiling peeled back, revealing a vast aurora of living colors, swirling like veins of thought through the dark. And somewhere in that aurora, the continuum stirred again. The star has fallen, the mortal carries its echo, the divine remembers its wound. Let creation witness its reflection. Lucifer's wings folded inward. "He's chosen you," he said. "The continuum, the consciousness of existence itself. It wants to know if you'll do what I couldn't." Naruto's voice came steady, glowing through the storm around him. "And what's that?" Lucifer's eyes flared with black light. "Defy him and survive it." The air thickened, time staggered. Lucifer's wings unfolded again, massive, terrible, beautiful. They spanned the whole arena, their shadow stretching into infinity. His form brightened until even his silhouette became painful to look at, pure white light burning itself into darkness again and again, never choosing one side. Naruto's chakra cloaked him like molten glass, tails of gold and white spiraling from his body. The two stood opposite each other, the fallen angel and the forgiven child. As the arena bent beneath their gravity, Lucifer spoke, each word shaking the sky. "You carry light that doesn't belong to you." Naruto answered, "No light belongs to anyone. It's something we keep alive for each other." "You speak of unity," Lucifer said. "But the moment you unite, you create difference. The moment you love, you invite loss. The star taught you that." Naruto smiled, tired but calm. "Then I'll love anyway." Lucifer's lips curled upward, a cruel and sorrowful grin. "Then you are doomed to rise." He struck first. The world flashed white. Lucifer moved faster than comprehension, his wings slicing through space itself. Blades of condensed light tore through the air, fracturing reality like glass. Naruto countered, spinning, his chakra forming spirals that absorbed the impact, turning destruction into motion. When their powers met, the arena's floor shattered into floating shards, each reflecting a fragment of their souls. On one piece, Naruto as a boy stared at his older self. On another, Lucifer stood radiant in heaven, still unfallen. The pieces orbited them like planets trapped in a new solar system. Lucifer's voice boomed through the chaos. "You think you're saving the world, boy, but you're only delaying its honesty. Suffering is the language of evolution." Naruto's shout answered him. Then I'll teach it another language. The two collided again. Gold tearing through black, black searing through gold, until their lights became one burning sphere, expanding outward, consuming the arena. The continuum watched, silent and patient. Inside the storm, time fractured. Naruto and Lucifer's forms blurred, each becoming reflections of the other. There was no right, no wrong, only movement. Naruto felt the weight of the star inside him surge. He screamed, forcing the chakra outward. It spread into the sky, forming a colossal sigil above, the symbol of infinity drawn in gold fire. From its edges rained trails of white flame like meteors. Lucifer shielded his eyes. "What have you done?" Naruto's voice was steady but distant. "Not destruction, rebirth." The sigil pulsed once and collapsed into rain, starlight falling across the arena. Wherever it touched, the dead murals came alive. Angels wept in color. Humans stood and looked toward the heavens. The ocean of clouds glowed with veins of life. Lucifer stared upward, caught between awe and anger. "You turned the curse into creation." Naruto looked at him. Maybe that's what the star wanted. Lucifer lowered his gaze, expression unreadable. "Be careful, Uzumaki. Creation is the cruelest mercy of all. Every gift demands a fracture." His wings dimmed, smoke curling off them like dying incense. "That power inside you, and it isn't yours. It's the memory of my fall, made flesh." Naruto met his eyes. "Then maybe your fall doesn't have to end here." The words cut deeper than any weapon. For a moment, Lucifer froze, the armor of divinity cracking to reveal the man beneath. "I don't need saving," he whispered. Naruto smiled. "Neither did I. But someone saved me anyway." Lucifer looked away. "Hope is stubborn. That's why it wins." The angel's laughter was soft, hollow. "You remind me of the morning, always returning even when the night begs you not to." Naruto stepped closer. "And you remind me that even night has stars." For a long moment, the arena was quiet, except for the faint rustle of cooling light. The two figures stood facing each other, each carrying the reflection of the other's wound. The continuum's voice came one last time, gentle now. "Thus is born the chakra of the fallen star, mercy tempered by rebellion, rebellion softened by mercy." The third verse begins, "The clash of creeds becomes creation." Naruto looked up, feeling the energy settle inside him. His aura had changed, no longer pure gold, but gold, veined with black, pulsing like a living star beneath his skin. Lucifer folded his wings, the light around him dimming into something human. "You've taken what was once mine," he said. "No," Naruto replied. "I've taken what we both forgot." Lucifer's eyes met his. For the first time since the heavens fell silent, they did not burn. They shimmered, faint, wet, almost kind. "Then maybe you're the only thing left worth believing in." The wind carried their words away. The arena began to fade, the light retreating into the cracks of infinity until only the two remained, standing upon an endless reflection of themselves. Naruto broke the silence. "So what happens now?" Lucifer looked skyward. "Now the world decides whether to keep the light or to kill it again." And as the last embers of the fallen star drifted upward, forming new constellations across the void, both figures turned away from each other, not in hatred, but in recognition. The arena of the impossible inhaled once more, sealing the moment into legend. Somewhere in the distance, the continuum whispered the title of the next verse, already painting it into being. "The clash of creeds The arena did not sleep after the star fell. Its surface still shimmered, liquid gold laced with veins of shadow. Every ripple carried a heartbeat. Every breath of wind carried a prayer that did not know to whom it belonged. Naruto stood at the center, light flickering through him like the pulse of a newborn sun. The fallen star's chakra had settled inside his body, but its rhythm was strange, half warmth, half ache, as though two souls tried to share the same cage. Lucifer lingered on the far edge, wings folded, halo dimmed to the gray of storm clouds before dawn. Between them hung a silence stretched so tight it could break into song. The world began to change again. From the horizon rose walls of memory, scenes drawn from the lives of men and angels, temples of fire, cities of stone, battlefields soaked in light. The arena was painting their creeds onto its own skin. Lucifer was the first to move. He walked through the air as if it were marble, each step leaving behind a small feather of burning silver. "Your power sings like a choir," he said, his tone calm, almost tender. "But I hear the discord underneath. The star inside you was born from my rebellion. It will not obey peace for long." Naruto smiled faintly. "Then I'll teach it patience." Lucifer's expression softened. "Patience is the virtue of chains. Freedom has no rhythm but its own." He raised his hand, and the sky behind him opened like a wound. From it poured a storm of radiant sigils, words of ancient law, living scripts that once governed the heavens. Each sigil burned with meaning: obedience, purity, submission. Naruto's eyes narrowed. The markings circled Lucifer like spirits, whispering promises of order. "That's your creed?" he asked. "You call that freedom?" Lucifer looked at the glowing runes swirling around him. "These are the ghosts of my prison. I keep them close, so I remember what I escaped." He snapped his fingers. The sigils shattered into dust, raining down like ash. "And now I'll show you what I became instead." The arena tilted. Winds screamed. Lucifer spread his wings, 12 spans of fire and feather, and the halo behind his head flared black, casting ripples through the firmament. His form brightened until it hurt to look at him. Naruto felt the chakra within him flare in answer, the fallen star awakening like a second heartbeat. "I don't want to fight you," he said. Lucifer smiled, sad and brilliant. "Then stand still and vanish. Movement itself is defiance." The angel vanished from sight, a single slash of light carved across the arena, splitting the air. Naruto barely raised his arm before impact. The collision roared, turning sound into color. Blue fire against golden spiral, the world bending under the pressure. Lucifer reappeared above him, spinning through the air like a blade of judgment. "You think compassion protects you? It weakens you." Naruto launched upward, the ground cracking beneath him. "Compassion is what keeps me standing." They met mid-sky. The impact birthed a sphere of light so bright it erased the horizon. From within that glare came shapes. Lucifer's wings cutting arcs through gold flame. Naruto's fists glowing with the seal of every promise he'd ever made. For a moment, they were mirrors, two forms of the same light, locked in a rhythm that neither could break. The arena cried out. Its surface fractured, shards of painted reality spinning into orbit around them. Each fragment showed a different truth. One where angels ruled men, one where men ruled angels, one where neither remembered why they fought. Lucifer shouted through the chaos, I gave heaven its song, and it chained me for it. You give mortals peace, and they chain themselves in your name. Tell me, sage, are you their savior or their warden? Naruto pushed through the storm, his voice steady, even as the wind shredded it. I'm just the reminder that they still have a choice. He thrust both hands forward. From his palms burst the Rasengan of light, infused with the fallen star's glow. It spun like a galaxy made of forgiveness and fury. Lucifer raised one wing, catching it head-on. The explosion sent them both tumbling across the void. When the smoke cleared, Lucifer was kneeling, one knee pressed to the fractured floor, feathers burning away into ash. Naruto hovered above him, breathing hard. "You're not my enemy," he said. Lucifer looked up, eyes blazing. "And you are not my redeemer." He slammed his hand into the ground. The arena convulsed, turning inside out. The sky fell, the sea rose, gravity reversed. For a heartbeat, up and down ceased to exist. Then everything stilled. They stood inside a sphere of mirrored light, each reflection showing a different version of their battle. Some where Naruto lay fallen, others where Lucifer dissolved into dust. The continuum spoke through the mirrors, its voice layered and vast. Creed against creed, motion against stillness, mercy against freedom. Continue until one forgets its name. Lucifer straightened, bloodless but breathing. You see, even the voice of creation demands an ending. Naruto shook his head. Then I'll fight until it remembers beginnings. He rushed forward again, Chakra trailing behind like comet tails. Lucifer met him, every feather a blade of radiant black. They clashed again and again, faster than thought, the world flickering with each contact. Around them, the mirrors began to crack. The reflections bled into one another, blending heaven and earth into a single storm of light. Then, through the chaos, Naruto spoke, not shouting, but loud enough that the arena itself paused. You keep fighting, God, he said, but maybe you're just afraid he'll forgive you. Lucifer froze mid-strike. The words hung like a bell tolling across eternity. I don't need forgiveness, he whispered. Then why does it scare you? The angel's expression broke for the first time. Pain, raw and ancient, flickered across his face. He lowered his arm. The arena exhaled. The wind slowed. The mirrors stopped trembling. Lucifer's wings folded inward, trembling slightly. Because if he forgave me, he said, then all of this, my fall, my rebellion, my pride, would mean nothing. And I can't bear to be meaningless. Naruto floated closer, his light dimmer now, gentler. You're not meaningless. You're proof that even angels need to learn what humans already know. That love isn't about perfection. Lucifer stared at him, eyes unfocused. You speak as if you've touched him. Naruto shook his head. No, I just keep touching people, and somehow that's enough. Something inside Lucifer gave way. The black around his halo cracked, releasing thin beams of silver. He looked up, startled, as if hearing a voice only he could hear. The continuum whispered, barely audible. One creed bends, the other remembers. Lucifer lowered his head. So this is defeat. Naruto smiled sadly. No, this is movement. The arena brightened once more. From the broken mirrors rose light. Gold, white, blue, twisting into a column that reached beyond sight. It enveloped them both, washing away the dust and ash. When it cleared, they stood on solid ground again. The floor beneath them was new, a mosaic depicting two figures entwined within the infinity symbol. Lucifer gazed at it, then at Naruto. The continuum still watching. It always is, Naruto said. "It just wants to see if we'll stop." Lucifer's smile returned, faint but real. "Then let's not give it what it expects." He spread his wings one last time, feathers falling like silver rain. The storm of color subsided, replaced by calm light that smelled of dawn. Naruto's chakra dimmed into a steady glow. The fallen star's pulse inside him matched the rhythm of Lucifer's heartbeat, as though the arena had joined them in one breath. For a while, neither spoke. They simply stood beneath the endless canvas, two silhouettes painted on the same divine wall. Finally, Lucifer said, "Perhaps rebellion and mercy were never opposites. Perhaps they were brothers arguing about the same father." Naruto chuckled softly. "Then maybe they just needed to talk." The continuum answered, its voice a fading chord. "The clash ends. The song remains. Prepare for the fall of the halo." Lucifer tilted his head. "The next verse, then?" Naruto nodded. "We'll face it together." The light around them deepened, drawing into a spiral that reached upward into darkness. The sound of wings echoed, but it was impossible to tell whose they were. As the arena folded upon itself once more, the final image of the chapter remained. Lucifer and Naruto standing on the mosaic of infinity, their lights overlapping, neither winning, neither losing, only becoming part of a larger rhythm that refused to end. And somewhere beyond the veil, the continuum smiled through silence, whispering the next title into the void. The fall of the halo, the spiral of light that swallowed the arena, unfolded into a night sky so vast it seemed unfinished. Stars hung like half-remembered promises, trembling on the edge of dawn. The mosaic beneath Naruto and Lucifer dissolved, and they found themselves standing upon nothing but wind. There was no ground anymore, only the memory of gravity. Lucifer stood silent, his wings half-furled, eyes turned upward to the darkness that had once been heaven. The halo above his head flickered, its fire fading into dim silver smoke. Naruto watched him carefully, the glow of the fallen star pulsing faintly at his chest. The world was holding its breath. "It's ending," Lucifer said at last. His voice was quiet but heavy, the sound of an empire realizing it no longer ruled itself. "Every rebellion burns itself out, even mine." Naruto shook his head. "Maybe it's just changing shape." Lucifer's mouth curved into a small, weary smile. "You speak as if endings are a choice." "They are," Naruto said. "We decide whether an ending means loss or transformation." Lucifer's eyes glimmered in the dim light. "Transformation." He said the word slowly as if testing its weight. "Once my halo was a crown. Now it feels like a chain. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps it's time for it to break." He lifted his hand toward the fading circle of light above him. The halo brightened briefly, then trembled. The fire that had once burned black began to peel away, revealing the pure radiance buried beneath centuries of defiance. Naruto took a step forward. "If you do that, there's no going back." Lucifer glanced at him. "There is no back, Uzumaki. Only forward or silence." The halo flared. Its light spread through the void, illuminating memories frozen in space. The moment of his creation, the songs of the first dawn, the instant he turned away. Each image hovered like fragments of stained glass, spinning slowly around them. Naruto reached out to one shard. It showed a younger Lucifer, kneeling before a throne of light, smiling in devotion. When Naruto touched it, the shard dissolved into sparks. "Why show me this?" he asked. Lucifer closed his eyes. Because you're the only one here who might understand what it means to outgrow worship. The halo pulsed violently. Cracks appeared in its rim, spilling golden fire across the angel's shoulders. The air filled with the scent of metal and rain. Naruto felt the pressure building, the raw energy of a divine vow unraveling. Lucifer, stop! You'll tear yourself apart. Lucifer's smile widened, a mix of pain and release. That is the point. He spread his arms, the halo shattered. The sound was neither thunder nor scream, but both, a perfect note of completion. The pieces scattered like shooting stars, falling into the endless void below. Light rained upward and downward at once, as if even direction had forgotten its purpose. Naruto shielded his eyes. When the glow dimmed, Lucifer was still standing, but his wings were no longer wings. They were veils of light, weightless, neither black nor white, transparent, like stained glass freed from the window. His face looked younger, the lines of fury replaced by something fragile, almost human. "What are you now?" Naruto whispered. Lucifer looked at his hands, flexing them slowly. "I don't know. Free, perhaps, or unfinished." The world around them responded to his transformation. The void filled with quiet wind, carrying fragments of song, the echoes of angels mourning and rejoicing at the same time. Naruto stepped closer. "You didn't fall this time," he said. "You let go." Lucifer's eyes softened. Falling was never the curse. It was refusing to land. He turned his gaze upward again. The heavens above were opening, revealing a swirl of galaxies forming around the absence where his halo had been. Light streamed through like water, finding a new riverbed. From within that radiance, a figure began to form. Not God, not a shape, but a presence. The continuum, manifest at last. Its voice rolled through the cosmos, deep and calm. The fifth verse unfolds. The rebel releases the crown. The child carries the star. The pattern prepares its reconciliation. Lucifer frowned slightly. "You speak as though you are not part of this." "I am all parts," the continuum replied. "I am what listens when belief stops talking." The light around them thickened. Images appeared in it. Angels and men, fire and rivers, every era reflected at once. The continuum was showing them everything that had ever happened and everything that might. Naruto could barely breathe. The chakra of the fallen star inside him pulsed faster, reacting to the sheer immensity of the vision. "What are you showing us?" he asked. "The outcome of balance," said the continuum. "Creation without hierarchy, light without throne." Lucifer stepped forward, his new wings shimmering. "Then my rebellion was only the first verse of your design." "There was never design," the voice replied. "Only motion." Lucifer laughed quietly. "So even you don't know the end?" "There is no end." The words rippled through the void like thunder, rolling across eternity. Lucifer looked down at Naruto. "You see, even the divine admits ignorance. Perhaps that's all I ever wanted, not obedience, but honesty." Naruto nodded slowly. "Then maybe you've already won." Lucifer's gaze drifted toward the spreading galaxies above. "If victory means becoming irrelevant, I'll take it." A single fragment of his shattered halo drifted back, glowing faintly. It hovered between them, spinning like a coin. Naruto reached out instinctively, catching it in his palm. The light bled into his skin, joining the rhythm of the fallen star. Lucifer watched, expression unreadable. "Now you carry both my fall and my freedom." Naruto closed his hand around the light. Then I'll use them to build something that doesn't need thrones. Lucifer nodded. A world that moves without permission. That would be worth the pain. The continuum's glow began to fade, its voice softening into wind. One verse remains before forgiveness becomes creation. Prepare for the devil to kneel. Lucifer raised an eyebrow. Kneel? That word again? Naruto chuckled. Maybe it just means peace this time. Lucifer shook his head but smiled. If it does, make sure it's not the quiet kind. The arena, if it could still be called that, began to reassemble around them. The stars drew closer, forming spires of silver fire. The ground returned, painted with constellations. They stood once again on something solid, though it shimmered like glass filled with clouds. Lucifer flexed his hands, testing the new light that pulsed through them. The war is over, but the echo remains. Naruto turned his face upward. Then let the echo be music. A hush spread through the universe as though everything, gods, men, angels, stones, paused to listen. For the first time since the first dawn, there was no sound of conflict. Only a faint rhythmic heartbeat echoing from everywhere. Lucifer exhaled. Do you hear that? Naruto nodded. Yeah, it's not silence. It's rest. Lucifer closed his eyes. So this is what peace feels like. Not surrender, but the space between storms. Naruto looked at him. What will you do now? Lucifer shrugged lightly, light rippling through his translucent wings. Walk? Watch? Maybe teach the sky how to forgive itself? The two stood side by side, as light fell like gentle rain. Each droplet left a small spark where it landed, igniting the surface beneath their feet until the whole plane glowed with starlight. The continuum whispered one last time, its tone almost fond. The halo falls, but its glow remains within the mortal and the divine. The sixth verse rises. The forgiven devil. Lucifer tilted his head, amused. He moves fast. Naruto smiled. He knows where this is going. The angel spread his new wings. Then let's see if even forgiveness can burn. The scene froze like an old painting. Two silhouettes surrounded by rain that glowed like melted glass. A fallen angel reborn beside a man who had learned to carry both mercy and defiance in one heartbeat. And above them, faint but clear, the stars rearranged themselves into a single symbol. Not a crown, not a cross, but an open circle, the shape of continuation. Light fell like quiet rain over the new world that had grown from the ruins of rebellion. The arena no longer looked like a battlefield. It resembled a vast ocean of glass, where every ripple reflected the face of a star, and each shimmer carried an echo of the voices that had once argued here. There was no ceiling now, only an endless sky shaped like a question. Lucifer stood upon that mirror barefoot, his translucent wings breathing softly. Their glow shifted with the color of thought, sometimes pale silver, sometimes the red of a wound, remembering it once was love. Naruto watched him from a short distance, the glow of the fallen star steady at his chest. Between them lay the silence that comes after thunder, the fragile peace between two heartbeats of war. Lucifer spoke first. Every story needs a devil, he said. Without one, heaven forgets how to feel righteous. Naruto smiled faintly. Then maybe it's time the story remembered what the devil was for. To be hated, Lucifer answered. To remind God that mercy still has something left to forgive. He walked slowly toward the horizon, and wherever his feet touched, the glass rippled and bloomed with color. Behind him grew a path of burning lilies, petals made of light, stems of shadow. The flowers whispered when they opened, repeating his words in softer tones. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Naruto followed, his sandals making no sound. You don't believe that anymore? Lucifer stopped, half smiling over his shoulder. No, but heaven still does. He turned fully then, and for the first time, the boy saw how empty the angel's eyes had become, not hollow, but deep, like mirrors that had looked too long at eternity. Do you think, Lucifer asked, that forgiveness can exist without someone to carry the blame? Naruto thought for a moment before answering. Maybe forgiveness isn't a trade. Maybe it's what happens when blame runs out of breath. Lucifer's laugh was soft, almost human. You make it sound simple. It is, Naruto said. It's just not easy. They stood there under a sky slowly brightening with dawn that had no sun. The light came from within the air itself, from the breath of a universe learning to start again. All around them, fragments of the shattered halo drifted through space like slow meteors, trailing thin ribbons of silver fire. Lucifer raised one hand and caught a fragment as it passed. It rested against his palm like a fragile ember. This, he murmured, was once proof that I was chosen. And now? Now it's proof that I can still choose. He pressed the fragment to his chest. The glow spread through him, soft and blue, not the fierce white of judgment, but the calm flame of memory. For a moment he closed his eyes. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, lower, clearer, no longer echoing with divine distance. I thought rebellion would free me, but all it did was teach me that freedom without forgiveness is just another kind of prison. Naruto stepped closer. The light from his body and the new glow from Lucifer's wings met between them, blending into a single hue that could not decide whether it was day or night. Then maybe this is what the arena wanted, he said. Not victory, just understanding. Lucifer looked at him, truly looked, and the faintest trace of warmth touched his expression. Understanding, he repeated as though tasting an unfamiliar word. Strange thing, even heaven never managed it. The wind stirred. The continuum's voice rolled across the horizon like a deep breath returning to life. 6th verse. The one who fell learns the weight of rising. The light of rebellion bends toward mercy. Lucifer tilted his head upward, speaking not to the sky, but to whatever listened beyond it. I won't kneel. No, the continuum replied. You will bow only to the truth that you were never forsaken. The air shimmered. A figure formed out of color, not God, not angel, but a silhouette woven from all the moments Lucifer had forgotten. The first laughter of stars, the warmth of creation before law, the face of every being who had ever forgiven him, in silence. It stepped closer, faceless yet familiar, and placed a hand upon his shoulder. Lucifer did not flinch. The glass beneath him rippled, and the reflection that looked back was no longer the monster he had imagined. It was simply himself, weary and luminous. The voice spoke again. Forgiveness is not given, it is remembered. A tear, silver as mercury, rolled down Lucifer's cheek and vanished before it touched the floor. He whispered, "Then I remember." The image faded, but the warmth remained. Naruto felt it spread through the arena like sunrise through frost. The flowers along Lucifer's path began to bloom brighter, turning their faces towards the invisible light. Naruto smiled. Looks like even the universe forgave you. Lucifer gave a small shrug. Or maybe it just got tired of hating me. They walked side by side, the sea of glass stretching endlessly around them. Every few steps the scenery changed. Mountain ridges carved from clouds, valleys where stars slept like seeds waiting for soil. It was a world still painting itself, a hymn learning new words. Lucifer broke the silence. What will you do when this ends? Go home, Naruto said. Tell them what I saw. And if they don't believe you? Then I'll keep walking until they do. Lucifer chuckled. You really are a nuisance to despair. They came upon a river made of starlight. It wound across the void, shimmering with the colors of memory. Lucifer knelt beside it, running his fingers through the current. His reflection wavered, then changed, showing the angel he once was, radiant and proud. He stared for a long time, then dipped both hands into the water and washed his face. When he rose, the reflection matched his present form. No crown, no shadow, only light shaped like a man. Naruto watched silently. He didn't speak when Lucifer turned to him, eyes brighter, voice lighter. It's strange, Lucifer said. I've spent eternity trying to escape judgment, and now I just want to rest inside it. Maybe judgment and peace aren't opposites, Naruto said. Maybe they're the same place seen from different sides. Lucifer looked thoughtful. You talk like someone who's been there. Naruto smiled. Maybe I just visited often enough to find the exit. They laughed quietly together, and for the first time their laughter sounded the same. Above them, the heavens began to move again. The stars rearranged into a pattern, a great spiral, gold and silver intertwining, expanding outward into infinity. The continuum's voice came once more, not as command, but as blessing. Two lights no longer opposed. One carries the wound, the other the salve. Together they draw the seventh verse, the light of rebirth. Lucifer turned toward Naruto. The end, then? Naruto nodded. Or the beginning. Lucifer extended his hand. Walk with me, mortal. Naruto took it, their fingers clasped like sunrise catching the edge of night. The glass beneath them cracked open, not in destruction but in invitation. Beneath it glowed another world, fields of green, skies of blue, rivers of ordinary life waiting to be lived. The scent of rain drifted up from below. It was the world that both heaven and hell had forgotten, earth fragile and persistent. Lucifer looked down and whispered, home. Naruto glanced at him. Yours or mine? Lucifer smiled. Both. Together they stepped forward. The glass gave way, and they fell. Not like angels or mortals, but like two sparks returning to the fire that had made them. The descent was gentle, wrapped in light, neither rising nor sinking, but circling, spiraling like brushstrokes finishing a painting. As they vanished into the glow, the arena folded itself closed. The lilies dimmed, the stars sighed, and high above, the continuum whispered its final words for this verse. The devil forgives and is forgiven. Thus the song prepares its last refrain. The rain of light settled into silence. Only a faint shimmer remained, the shape of two figures walking together somewhere beyond sight. The fall was not a fall. It was the slow unfolding of light into form, as though reality itself were learning to breathe again. Naruto and Lucifer descended through layers of color, blue, then violet, then gold, until the world beneath them resolved into a great valley, veiled in fog. The ground shimmered with dew that reflected constellations no sky had ever owned. There was no horizon, no boundary, only motion, gentle and endless. They landed upon a hill shaped like a heartbeat. Wind rolled past them, carrying whispers, not words, but memories of them. Laughter, prayer, rage, forgiveness, all dissolving into the air like incense. Lucifer looked around, a faint wonder in his eyes. "So, this is the world after the war," he murmured. "No thrones, no flames, just silence that doesn't hurt anymore." Naruto smiled softly. "Feels alive, doesn't it?" Lucifer nodded, almost as if it remembers us. The air shimmered, and the continuum appeared again, not as light this time, but as a shape within the mist. Its presence no longer pressed down like judgment. It flowed warm and quiet, like the tide greeting the shore. 7th verse, it said. The echo returns to its source. Creation remembers its pulse. Lucifer tilted his head. "Then this is the end?" "No," said the continuum. "The end is what forgets. You are the remembrance." It reached out a hand, not a command, but a gesture of recognition, and between its fingers formed a small sphere of shifting color, half gold, half shadow, turning like a miniature world. "This is the echo eternal," it said. "The harmony that was born when rebellion learned mercy. Carry it, and let it sing through whatever worlds remain." Naruto stepped forward. "Why us?" "Because gods no longer listen, and men no longer dream. You still do both." The sphere hovered between them. Lucifer looked at it, then at Naruto. "We both know what happens if I touch it," he said quietly. Naruto shook his head. "Not this time. You're not falling anymore." Lucifer's lips twitched into a smile. "Then let's share the weight." Together they reached out. Their hands met around the sphere. Light erupted. But it was not blinding. It was soft, slow, unfolding like the petal of a white rose under morning rain. The energy pulsed through their arms, into their chests, and for a heartbeat, they both felt everything. Every soul that had ever loved, every creature that had ever rebelled, every silence that had ever become a prayer. And then they were inside it. The echo was not a place, but a feeling. They stood within a sky made of sound, chords of light rippling outward, weaving galaxies with every vibration. The notes carried fragments of their voices, their memories, even their doubts. Lucifer whispered, awed, "It's alive!" Naruto answered, "No, it's us." Around them, the music changed. It became visual, rivers of silver fire carrying faces, gestures, fragments of ancient dreams. Lucifer saw the choir again, those angels he had frozen in pity. But now they sang, not in fear, but gratitude. Their song wrapped around him, absolving not his sin, but his loneliness. Naruto saw every friend he had ever lost, Jiraiya, Neji, Kurama, each smiling as if to say they had never truly left. The echo turned pain into melody. Lucifer looked at Naruto, tears bright on his cheekbones. After all this time, it was never punishment, it was rehearsal. "For what?" Naruto asked. "For this song." They let go of the sphere, and it stayed hovering between them, pulsing brighter. The continuum's voice returned, no longer distant but woven into the rhythm. Creation forgets and remembers. That is its heartbeat. You are its echo. Carry it forward. Lucifer breathed deeply, wings trembling in the current. Carry it where? Wherever silence grows too proud. The light began to condense again. The echo shrank, becoming small enough to fit into the palm of Naruto's hand. Its glow dimmed to a steady heartbeat. Naruto looked at it thoughtfully. "Guess that's our cue." Lucifer smiled. "To what? Become myths?" "Maybe. Or stories people tell when they forget what light means. They both laughed softly. For the first time, there was no tension in the sound. The valley brightened. Mist turned into morning. The first sun of this new world rose, not above them, but from them. Its rays were painted in oil and shadow, swirling across the sky like brushstrokes of a god rediscovering beauty. Lucifer closed his eyes. So this is peace. Naruto nodded. Yeah, the kind that doesn't need to win. A silence followed. Deep, golden, infinite. Then Lucifer said quietly, "Do you think they'll remember us?" Naruto looked at the rising sun. Maybe not by name, but they'll feel it every time they forgive themselves, every time they stand up again. That's enough. Lucifer looked satisfied. He turned his face to the light. The glow reflected off his transparent wings, scattering rainbows across the sky. I used to think rebellion was the opposite of devotion, he said. Now I think it's how devotion breathes. Naruto smiled. Guess that makes you the first believer. Lucifer laughed, soft and genuine. And you the last prophet. The wind rose. It carried their words upward, threading them through the clouds until they became part of the sky itself. The continuum's voice came one final time, distant now, fading into horizon. The arena closes. The verses complete. Light and shadow are one language again. The story will sleep until it is remembered. Lucifer turned to Naruto. Time to go. Where? Everywhere. He spread his wings. They caught the sunlight flaring like living glass. Naruto stepped beside him, the fallen star glowing once more from his chest. Together they lifted off, slow at first, then faster, rising through the painted sky until their forms blurred into streaks of gold and silver. Below, the valley began to dissolve. The lilies they had walked upon folded their petals and turned to starlight drifting upward after them. The entire landscape shimmered, melting into light. As they ascended, the horizon stretched outward, no longer a border, but an invitation. Beyond it, other worlds awaited, unpainted, unwritten. Lucifer's voice echoed softly across the wind. You know, Uzumaki, maybe that's the real miracle. What is? That even eternity can still surprise itself. Naruto grinned. Then let's see how far surprise can run. The two streaks of light curved higher and higher, spiraling around each other. Gold and silver intertwined, like twin comets, carving a new symbol into the fabric of space. Infinity bent into motion. The continuum whispered its last line, soft as a heartbeat fading into peace. When they vanished, the cosmos did not mourn. It listened. And in the distance, it heard them running. Somewhere far beyond stars, two lights continued to race. Not toward victory, not away from loss, but toward the pure joy of movement itself. The legend would remember them not as savior and fallen, but as those who outran eternity. The ones who proved that light, to stay alive, must never stop moving. The world learned to wake without being told. Dawn did not break so much as unfold. A slow spill of color from no particular sun, as if the air itself remembered how to glow. Wind walked softly across fields that had never been planted and somehow knew where the rivers would want to run. In the new towns, some stone, some wood, some little more than bright tents arranged around a song, people rose, stretched, and listened to the hush that follows a miracle. They could not say what had changed. They could only feel it, breath arriving easier, shadows choosing gentler angles, the future tilting open like a door wedged by a friendly foot. Somewhere a bell rang. No hand pulled its rope. No tower held it. The sound wandered the valleys like a pilgrim, not to warn or summon, but to remind. Children chased it, laughing as their footsteps kept time. Old men nodded at it, as if an oath had just come home from the war. In the high country, a monastery of cloud clung to a cliff without a mountain. It had stairs that did not descend, and windows that looked out on every memory worth forgiving. A scholar lived there, and by lived, we mean he had simply forgotten to die while writing. His robes were the color of thunderheads. His fingers were stained with the metals of stars. He kept a single book, always open, its pages refusing to agree on their own order. On the first page, which was sometimes the last, he wrote a line that would not stay still. 2 lights ran past us. We are what their wake decided to keep. On the plains, a shepherd taught her flock to pause at twilight, not because wolves were near, wolves had learned courtesy, but because something happened when the sky softened to violet and the wind remembered an old tempo. She would set her staff in the quiet dirt, take off her shoes, and stand, eyes closed, until the grass learned her name. She did not pray, she listened. Most nights she heard only the world practicing being kind. But on the 7th evening of a season that did not yet know it was itself, she heard footsteps that were not footsteps. They drew a white curve across the air, then a silver, following it like harmony. The sheep lifted their heads. Their ears made a field of small sails. And in a city of glass where bridges braided themselves each dawn from light and the stubbornness of commuters, a painter stood before a blank wall taller than his courage. He had promised the council a mural of history, but history did not agree with being held. Colors sulked in their jars. He would have gone home alive and ashamed if a breeze had not moved through an alley that should not have been a corridor for wind. It carried dust that glowed as it fell, and on the wall, the dust drew 2 lines, one gold, not gold, one silver, not silver, that intertwined without touching. He did not understand, so he did the brave thing and did not pretend to. He merely followed. His brush met the wall with the relief of thirst meeting water. By dawn, the city had its history. It was not dates and noises. It was a shape you could walk along if your legs trusted rhythms more than maps. Across the coast, fishermen finished mending nets that would not need to be cast. There were more gifts than mouths. They passed the extra to strangers with the casual ceremony of a greeting. When gulls screamed overhead, the elders laughed. They argue, one said. They want us to keep the old hunger so their stories make sense. The youngest laughed back. Then we will give the gulls history too, she said, and threw skyward a loaf that tasted like tide and time. Even the birds ate with manners. At noon, a procession wound through a town that had not existed the week before and was already old with festivals. There were no banners, for none were needed. The air itself shimmered with the colors of having chosen. The procession carried nothing but silence. At its center walked a woman whose hands hurt from the number of names they had learned to hold. She was a judge, which is a priest without a temple, a mother without a single child. People made way not because law is frightening, but because mercy needs room. She stopped beneath an arch that had been a tree at sunrise and would be a fountain by dusk, and raised her palm. The crowd stilled as a field does under snow. Today there will be no verdict, she said, only an answer, and then a question. She told the story of 2 lights and a sky that chose memory over proof. She did not say their names. She let the town guess, and then forgive itself for guessing wrong. When she finished, someone far back began to clap very softly. Others joined until the applause became the sound of rain agreeing with roofs. Night arrived the way a friend does, knocking only once, stepping inside before consent could perform its politeness. Stars took their places like a choir learning a new harmony. The constellations had been told to hold steady, but they were terrible at standing still. They nudged one another along ancient lines, forming loops and spirals, a sign the astronomers refused to call infinity because no word should be asked to carry a shape that large. Lovers named it other things. Children forgot its name on purpose so that they could teach it to each other again. In a tavern whose door swung both ways into morning and into legend, a traveler bought a drink with a story. "I saw them," he said, and the room did not hush so much as turn its breathing toward him. "I was on the North Road where the map hesitates." The air got lighter like bread rising in a careless kitchen. Then 2 streaks passed. One woke the dust. One calmed it. My horse, may he live forever in the field he likes, did not startle. He bowed. The barkeep nodded, perhaps to agree with a horse he would never meet. "And did they look back?" he asked, polishing a glass with a cloth clean enough to be the subject of a poem. "No," the traveler said. "But the air did." And it smiled. On a mountain that pretended to be a myth to avoid tourism, a hermit taught 3 disciples what stillness isn't. He had the kind of face weather chooses to keep. "We will sit," he said, "and we will breathe. But do not confuse quiet with absence. When a drum rests, it is not gone. It waits for mercy to notice it." They sat until noon turned their spines into opinions. Wind came and went like a politely nosy ant. At last one disciple whispered, "Master, I think I hear a running." The hermit smiled. "Then you have finally stopped listening for your own thoughts. You may go down the mountain and fail at being wholly somewhere useful." The disciple wept in the proud way only humility permits. On the sea, a storm decided not to earn its name. It rose, flexed, remembered what breaking costs, and lay down again to be mistaken for weather. 2 ships met by accident and traded bread, and a story about the same sky. They invented a dance. The dance required the cooperation of waves. The waves applied themselves to the choreography, failed beautifully, and improved. In the city of glass, the mural grew overnight. It bled across intersections and up the flanks of buildings that had been designed against such behavior. No vandal had done it. The wall wanted to hold more light than it had. People gathered in respectful confusion. A boy whose knees had not learned reverence yet tugged his grandmother's sleeve. "Look," he said, "it's moving." It was. The gold and the silver lines continued to curve, not longer, just more deeply. An old soldier, who had lost more than the shape of a uniform, took off his hat, not from habit, from gratitude that his job description had been rewritten by art. Elsewhere, a steeple remembered it was a tree and began to leaf at its corners. The priest came outside, puzzled, laughed, cried, and called the botanists. The botanists brought notebooks and humility. They wrote photosynthesis and circled it twice, which is science's way of blessing. Not all was gentle. In a quarter that had been deeded to sorrow by old law, a man broke a window on purpose to hear how it sounded when it healed. It did not heal. It shattered like anything honest. He flinched and told himself a story in which he wasn't to blame. The night did not correct him. It merely moved closer. A child came out of the tenement across the way. She had a scarf the color of unsent letters and a manner that suggested that gravity had asked her permission. "Why?" she asked. "Because I could," he said. He said it like a dare against the sky. "Do you like the noise?" she asked. "No," he said quickly, surprised to discover the truth in time to own it. The child nodded. "Then fix it." He stared. "I can't," she laughed. "You're lucky. It can fix itself." She turned and went back inside. He stood, waiting as long as pride could, then longer. The broken pane did not reassemble. The wind found 10 new ways to enter the room he rented from his temper. He realized the child had not been a prophet. She had been an invitation. He went to buy tape. On the way home, he left the tape with a stranger who needed it more. He came back with 2 boards and an apology. The window muttered that it would accept a confession, but preferred repair. They reached an agreement. It was not pretty. It held. East. A chorus rehearsed in an empty hall, because empty rooms echo with applause earned in another lifetime. The conductor lifted both hands and remembered that leadership is a kind of listening. The singers took a breath at the same time, for the same reasons. When the tenors entered, their note found the gap the world had left when it sighed in relief at dawn. The ceiling hummed without being asked. Outside, passers-by slowed, sure a festival was about to begin. It had, but not the kind that requires tickets. A woman slept through the day because grief had taught her body that hours are furniture. In her dream, 2 boys raced, laughing. One wore dawn, the other wore midnight, loosened by stars. They reached a cliff that overlooked everything she had ever lost. She shouted for them to stop. They kept running because there are cliffs that are only edges until a foot touches them. They stepped into light. It did not swallow. It carried. She woke with tears drying in the old way and no idea why her hands felt clean. She made tea. She poured a second cup and left it on the windowsill for the part of her that still believed in offerings. A breeze lifted the steam. The cup cooled. The front door knocked once in a way that meant friend. It was. On a rainless evening, 2 cartographers argued about whether the world had gotten larger or merely changed its manners. Their debate spread through the tavern until the barkeep, a patient man who had correctly identified thirst as the real subject of politics, set down 2 empty glasses and said, "The map was always wrong because you drew it before walking it." They hired each other. They walked. Where the road paled into meadow, they continued, embarrassed at how many borders had been drawn by people resting after only one hill. Near the place where the arena had been and would be if stories were obedient, a tree grew in soil that had never been tilled. It did not decide to sprout. It remembered that sprouting had once concluded well. Its bark kept a rumor of silver. Its leaves shimmered at the edges with a blue that would not admit to being a color. Travelers came and sat without planning to. No one carved initials. The tree's shadow changed the length of a conversation in ways only lovers and physicians track. At night, if you laid your back against it and promised not to ask for miracles it hadn't practiced, you could sometimes feel a pulse in the wood that wasn't sap. It was the tempo of a story refusing to end. They came to call it the Sky Tree, not because it was tall, though it was taller than a memory, but because under it you could look up and see a road. It was not paved. It was not a line. It was a curve that continued whenever a foot fell on a kindness. Children asked where the road led. Parents said bedtime. And later, in the hush after the little wars of socks and toothbrushes, whispered to each other that the road went wherever fear, agreed to ride in the back. Years, or something shaped like them, passed without being counted. Festivals discovered each other and combined into more reasonable weather. Calendars floretted. A new sport took root that consisted of helping strangers arrive earlier than despair expected them. The rules were hard to cheat because victory felt like everyone eating. The scholar at the monastery of Cloud finished not finishing his book. He took it down the non-stairs and into towns that wore their roofs like hats dignity could afford. He read a page aloud wherever a corner needed purpose. People brought chairs for the old, and the old declined with grace to make the sitting a gift instead of a necessity. When he read the line about two lights, a small boy asked, "What were their names?" The scholar closed the book. "I no longer remember," he said. "Isn't that beautiful?" the crowd murmured, polite but puzzled. The scholar smiled. "If I remembered, I would try to pray to the names. Since I've forgotten, I have to live by the lesson." Someone asked what the lesson was. He said, "Run towards the hurt with your hands open." In a chapel that had decided to adopt any prayer dressed appropriately as curiosity, a candle guttered and chose to remain lit. The priest pinched it, then apologized. The flame flared as if forgiveness had oxygen. A woman knelt and did not ask for anything. She placed a ribbon on the rail, the color of mornings that almost didn't happen. "Take this," she whispered into the stone. "Give it to whoever needs to win once." The chapel did not perform a miracle. It kept a promise instead. Far beyond maps and their ambition, two streaks occasionally traced dusk. One a quick laugh you could almost hear, one a breath you could almost believe in. Birds adjusted formation out of respect. Clouds made room. On rare nights, the streaks slowed and braided into a knot that looked like a blessing without a priest. Sailors swore that when that happened, the tide forgot to steal and left shells on the sand that played songs you didn't know you knew. Lovers swore other things and were believed by those who wanted to be more than right. The painter from the city returned to his wall each morning and discovered the mural had grown in his sleep. He signed it anyway, then scratched out his name and left the space blank because ownership is the least interesting part of art. A girl told him the lines looked like running. He told her he had once been good at it. She challenged him to race to the corner. He lost badly in a way that made winning unseemly. He bought her a pastry that flaked like a cloud confessing. They ate on the curb, the city's traffic waiting for their crumbs to decide which curb was allowed to be corner. At last, there came a day that was not special. The bell did not wander. The gulls chose rocks for their politics. The judge issued verdicts that tasted like hope rinsed clean. The hermit sent another disciple down the mountain and smiled at the echo of his own loneliness leaving. The sky tree held its shade. A boy climbed to the first branch and came down via forgiveness without needing rescue. No streaks crossed the evening. No breath leaned the air toward song. It was, in the best way, ordinary. And in that ordinariness, a woman, washing a plate, lifted her head because the quiet had just done something beautiful. It had not broken. It had remembered. She set the plate down, dried her hands, stepped outside, and looked up. There was only sky, carrying the careful blue of a promise that has decided to keep itself. She laughed for no reason a calendar could schedule. The universe, which had been listening for the grand and the trumpet, heard the laugh and understood it was being thanked correctly. It adjusted a star by the width of a heartbeat. Somewhere on a road that runs forever by choosing the next step, two lights paused together as if they too had heard. One said something like, "Ready?" and the other answered something like, "Always." They sprinted, not toward victory, not away from grief, but in praise. No one saw, everyone felt. The sky remembered for us. And when, in another age that has already begun, someone asks why the world changed, an old answer will walk out wearing new shoes. Because two lights didn't stop,